ईशानादिपदं शिवैकफलकं रत्नासनं ते शुभं पाद्यं कुङ्कुमचन्दनादिभरितैरर्घ्यं सरत्नाक्षतैः शुद्धैराचमनीयकं तव जलैर्भक्त्या मया कल्पितं कारुण्यामृतवारिधे तदखिलं सन्तुष्टये कल्पताम् कारुण्यामृतवारिधे तदखिलं सन्तुष्टये कल्पताम्. So when you listen to this, there's already a feeling of something that you're applying, some argyam that is happening, kumkumam, chandanam that you're offering, right? So this is part of the Shodasha Upachara. There are 16 forms of upachara that we do when we invoke a deity. So these are part of that padyam, argyam, achamaniyam. Then you give a bath, then you do naivedyam, then you do deepam, then you do dupam. All of that, there are 16. Raghu does Shodashopachara daily. So there are 16 of these upacharas or offerings or activities of engagement that you have with the deity when you invoke. So what we did in the first two verses is that we first visualize the place where Devi is. Then we visualize the physical form of Devi. Now we are going closer to her. We have invoked her in the Sri Chakra Madhye Sthitam, if you remember. Sri Chakra Madhye Sthitam. So that is where she is placed. We place her in the center of the Sri Chakra, in the Bindu. And then now we are invoking. So she's been invoked now. We are now offering things to her. So we are starting the process of worship or engagement. Whenever deities are invoked, for whatever purpose, we have to engage with them. Because depending on what deity we invoke, they have a certain energy that they will come and exude. They will come and exhibit in that space you are in. Right? And for you to receive the energy in the right way, you must engage with the deity. These are all part of the Sri Vidya Upasana. Usually Tantra Upasana has this in a lot of detail, where it is taught how one must engage with the deity. If you invoke the deity through some form of prayer, dhyana, japa, or whatever you have invoked, avahanam, you have done some avahanam of the deity through a ritual, the energy in some form will definitely arrive in that space where you are. You have invoked that energy form. Now you have to engage with that energy form. And then you also release the deity, because usually this whole process is about you invoke the deity, you engage with the deity, so that the deity then gives you something in return, does something to you in return, and then you let the deity go, so that it's not just sticking onto you like that, right? Because these are energy forms that you may want to carry with you at certain times, but not all the times. Unless you're such a very, very ardent sadhaka or ardent tantrika, tantrikas are like that, right? They carry some form, some energy forms, or some Shakti forms of Shakti, they will carry with them all the time. And they will, and the way they live their life will also be in accordance with that form or that power or that Shakti that is there. So when that invocation happens, for us, what we do is when we are living multiple lives, we live pretty much multiple lives. If you notice the way you live your life, you play multiple roles. right? You are not exactly the same individual to everybody. If you look at very, very ardent sadhakas, it doesn't matter where they go. They are exactly the same, right? If you see a tantrika or a yogi or some kind of a very, very ardent sadhaka or a sannyasi, you will see they are exactly the same wherever they go. Means their way of engagement does not change because of this person is my friend, this person is my child, this person is my wife, husband, or employer or employee, or I do business with this person. None of that. The transaction or the engagement does not depend on the particular relationship you have with that person. It doesn't change for them. For them, wherever they go, they are the same, right? Now, if you go to the Kumbh Mela, you will see a lot of sadhus like that. So those sadhus are not just sadhus in Kumbh Mela. Even otherwise, they'll be sadhus only. They'll be wandering like that. They come to the Kumbh Mela, they'll be like that. They go out, everything is done, dusted, everything is gone, they'll be like that. They go to some place, they'll be like that. So their engagement of the world is not based on the relationship with the world. Their engagement of the world is based on who they are, not how they engage, right? Or the role they play. But that is why they can invoke energies and continue to retain that with them. Because wherever they go, they are the same. But for us, it's not the same. Right? If you're sitting in an office meeting and you suddenly feel that I feel like I want to go into dhyanam. Right in the center of the meeting room, you're presenting, and then suddenly you feel I'm feeling so blissful. I want to do meditation. It will not work. They can do. Such people who have devoted their lives for such inner exploration and complete transformation, they've surrendered themselves to the process. They can do. We won't be able to. We will, if we do that, then slowly we will have to come out of that society that we're engaging with. It's not fair to remain in the society and do stuff like that. You can't go into the kitchen and put dosa on the tawa and say that now I feel like I want to do dhyana and the dosa tinjronga. So if you have to, so for us, which is why we when invoke, we have to engage. We have to engage with the deity so that there is a certain transaction of energies, and then the deity, then also you let the deity go. Now that you've invoked, whatever purpose you've invoked, you do that. Or even if you're just seeking grace, right? A lot of times we say, Ninga vandade periya vishayam, right? Many people we say that, right? You visited to our place itself is a big blessing to me. There's nothing else. I'm not seeking you bring some gift, you get this, that, and the other. Your presence itself is a big blessing. Like that, we can invoke deities. Just that their presence itself can bring some kind of change in the environment, some joy, some prosperity, it will cleanse off the space. So in this verse, he's saying that you have invoked Lalita Devi and now you're engaging with her. Ishanadi Padam. Ishanadi Padam Shivaika Phalakam Ratnasanam Ste Shubham. So she has been invoked and she's sitting where? She is sitting in the Ishanadi Padam. Ishana. So Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Rudra, Ishana. These are 5 legs of the stool, or the not stool, the chair that she's sitting in.
Asana for Lalit.
Asana, correct. So the asana, there are 5 principles: Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra, Ishana, and Sadashiva. So the 4 of them, Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra, and Ishana. Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra, Ishana. These 4 form the four legs of that asana. Sadashiva is the phalakam, the plank. Which is why, if you notice in the imagery, this is what it is, right? This is Vishnu, this is Brahma, this is Rudra and Ishana. So four of them are the four legs of the asana, and Sadashiva is the phalakam or the plank. See, he is seen translucent, which means this plank itself, this asana itself is Sadashiva. So even in Lalita Sahasranama, there is a reference made to this. Srishtikartri Brahma Rupa Goptri Govinda Rupini Raudrini and Samharini Rudra Rupa Tirodhana Karishwari Sadashiva Anugrahada Panchakritya Parayana Panchapretasanasina Panchabrahma Swarupini. This is the name that is given to her. Panchapreta Asana Sinaha Panchabrahma Swarupini. They are called Panchabrahmas. Panchabrahmas are 5 different functions of Devi herself. The 5 principles of Devi, which is creation, sustenance, destruction, tirodhana, concealing, anugraha, revealing. These are 5 different functions. Creation, sustenance, destruction, concealing and revealing. Tirodhana is avarana, is to conceal. And to reveal, to tirodhana is maya. The concealment of the truth is tirodhana. Anugraha is revealing. Anugraha is to reveal. It is to show, the display of grace, the truth. So that is Sadashiva. So, Srishtikartri Brahma Rupa. As Srishtikartri, she is Brahma, the creator. Govinda, Goptri Govinda Rupini. Goptri means the one who takes care, sustenance, sustainer. Goptri Govinda Rupini. Samharini Rudra Rupa. She is the destroyer. Samharini Rudra Rupa in the form of Rudra. So Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra. Samharini Rudra Rupa. Tirodhana Kara Ishwari. Ishana. Tirodhana Karishwari. Tirodhana Kari. Which means she conceals. As Ishana, the function of Ishana, principle of Ishana is Tirodhana. The 4th peg in the asana. And Sadashiva Anugrahada. Panchakritya Parayana. Sadashiva Anugrahada. So Sadashiva as Sadashiva, she is the principle of revealing or grace or bliss. Sadashiva Anugrahada Panchakritya Parayana. Panchasanasena Panchabrahma Asanasena Panchabrahma Swarupini. Panchakritya Parayana. Panchabrahma Brahmasanasena Panchabrahma Swarupini. So she is the form of these Panchabrahma. So it appears as her asana, but it is she herself in that form. It is pictorially represented that way, that these are her 5 functions and this is the asana on which she sits, which means she is the mother of all of these activities, the source of all these activities. She sits on that. She is Sri Mata, Sri Maharagni, Srimat Simhasaneshwari. She sits as the Simhasana Ishwari. So she sits like that. So that is what is mentioned. Ishanadi Padam Shivaika Phalakam Ratna Ratnasanam Te Shubham. It is an auspicious Ratnasanam. The asana is filled with Ratna, studded with pearls, precious stones. Padyam Kunkuma Chandanadi Bharitaihi Arghyam Sa Ratnakshataihi. So you are doing Padyam, then you are doing Kunkuma Chandanadi Bharitaihi. You are filling up. So where do you do Padyam usually? Padyam is done to the feet. You do padyam, which means you take water and you're doing argyam at the feet. At the feet, you're doing kunkuma chandanadi bharitaihi argyam saratnakshataihi. You're doing argyam with water and chandana and kunkuma. Argyam means you're mixing it and then you're pouring it in her feet, so that the feet is usually we do this for elders or gurus who come. Usually do a pada sevana.
பாத பூஜா பண்றதுக்கு எல்லா இடத்துலயும் பண்ணுவாங்க.
Pada puja. So you do a pada sevanam or a pada puja where you use some of the samagri to cleanse the feet. Two reasons it's done. One is, of course, you're cleaning their feet so that they come into the house, or they've come from a journey, so then they're tired. The feet must be tired, so you cleanse the feet. And it is also said the feet gathers the most amount of karma, because it moves from one place to the other. The feet gathers most amount of karma, be it good or bad, which is why when you see a sannyasi or a guru or a master, you fall at the feet, because the feet carries all the good karmas that they have gathered, so you receive it. You fall at the feet. Same thing with the parents also, or elders, any elders. Generally we fall at the feet, so that naturally we've spoken about this at length, about falling at the feet, etc. It's about one is the attitude of surrender, the other is we receive the energies that are gathered at the feet. Usually there are a lot of nerve endings at the feet, right? Even in Singapore, you go, there is this foot reflexology. You will see that everywhere. And they've studied how there are nerve endings in the feet that are connected to different organs in the body. So by either massaging or doing some kind of treatment to certain parts in the feet, under the feet, you can heal certain ailments in different organs of the body. So the feet contains nerve endings, and hence a lot of energy is also stored in the feet. Okay. So what are we doing here? Padyam chandana kunkuma chandana adi bharitaihi, filling it with kunkuma chandana, and then we're doing argyam saratnakshataihi akshataihi. So with akshata you're doing ratna as akshata, gems as akshata, you're putting it in her feet, you're offering it to her. And then what you're doing, shuddhaihi achamaniyakam tavajalaihi bhaktyamaya kalpitam. I am now taking that jala that is coming out of the argyam that I'm offered to you at your feet. The jala that is coming out from there, that I am taking that jala and I'm consuming it. It has become now, so the beauty here is Shuddhehi achamaniyakam. I am doing achamaniyam. I am consuming. Achamaniyam means to consume water. Consuming, I am consuming what? The jalaihi. Bhaktya, out of devotion. Maya kalpitam. Out of devotion in my heart and my mind, I am consuming as an achamanam. I am doing an achamanam of the water that has come from the pada puja that has been done to you, and that water has become shuddha now. We are saying we are cleaning the feet, but it's the other way. The water is getting cleansed by the feet, because it is mother herself. From her feet, the water, after the water has touched her feet, the water has been purified. You don't need water to purify her feet. The water gets purified because of her feet. So that water we then consume as you take an achamaniyam, which means you take it as a prasada. Take it as a prasada. Karunamrita Varidhe Tadakhilam Santushtaye Kalpatam. Now I perceive you as this blissful mother who's sitting there. Karunya Amritabdhi or Amrita Varidhe. The one who's filled or is giving out Amrita. So this water that I'm consuming now is turned into Amrita. Out of your grace, out of your karunya, out of your compassion, this water has now become Amrita. This water I brought, Jala, Kunkuma, Chandana, the Ratna, all of that I brought and I put it in your feet. Now they have become purified and they have become Amrita. And I am consuming them now. So Amrita has two meanings, right? One is Amrita is nectar, which means it is something very sweet. The other is Amrita, means by consuming it, you become immortal. You attain to Sadashiva. You are no longer identified with this mortality of yours. Right? So this process of doing Argyam and Achamanam with the water that is coming through, we can, and this thing is completely done mentally. Like Mama pointed out, this whole thing is in the visualization. Kalpatam, kalpatam, kalpatam means I am visualizing, I'm thinking, imagining in my mind. Maya kalpitam. It is thought by me. Maya kalpitam. What is thought by me? That I am now. So you're sitting here. I am doing padhyam. I am doing arghyam. I am doing kunkum, chandanam. I'm putting all this. I'm putting the akshada of ratna and all of this. Then the water that's coming out, I'm taking that and consuming it as achamaniyam. And it is cleansing me. Shuddhaihi achamaniyakam. So this process is cleansing me. Now, those who have some form of idol or some form of vigraha in the house, you can do this as abhisheka. Of course, the next verse is about giving abhisheka to Devi, but this is also a form of a little, this is like a mini abhisheka that you're doing to the feet. And you're consuming the water. Now, what is happening is, as we say, water has the ability to transmit energies like fire has. Right? How fire, you go after the arati is done, you do that and you consume the akasha around the fire. That akasha is charged by the idol that you're showing arati to. So the idol has a charge. It is consecrated. When you do arati, the consecrated the idol transmits the akashic element, gets transmitted to the fire. Fire carries that akashic quality of the idol. And then when you bring that fire, that akasha element is there and you consume that. Bhavana. Right? When you form these bhavana in the mind, you are slowly, there is this association that gets developed. And when you keep doing that repeatedly, and then when you come down and sit down, close your eyes and do a mantra Matruka Pushpamala Stavam, and then in your mind itself, you can do this whole thing with the same bhava. Sorry. So this bhava is something that is most important. When we go to a temple, we should not be in a rush to do some of these activities. We should stand there. Whether we get to see whether we are able to do activities or not, we should be present. Very important. It's not a tick mark that I went and I saw and I came. We must be present there. Otherwise, you're losing out. It is like I always say, when there is grace flowing and you, like a torrent or like a rain, and you put an umbrella or you're putting a raincoat, you'll not get a single drop of water on you. If Tirtham is brought and you do Prokshanam and you put an umbrella, what will happen? So this is in the same way, when you're visualizing, yad bhavam tad bhavati. Yad bhavam tad bhavati. The way you think, that is what manifests. That happens. And that is true. That is very true. Somebody who practices this will know that this is true. Enough number of times you practice this, create the bhava of some form of worship, devotion, surrender, association with the deity, with the Ishta. You will see how beautifully things kind of just configure and turn out. It will seem almost like somebody is doing it for you. This is, in this particular verse, he's saying, I am doing Padyam, Arghyam to the feet. And when I consume that water, the water that is coming from that consecrated entity, that energy is now coming into me. It's getting transmitted. Like how Agni brings the Akashic element, water can also bring that. Water is able to bring that even better because you're consuming it completely inside. It goes inside you. Which is why a lot of times water, even in temples, when you do achama, when you give prasadam is given as tirtham, right? What is happening to that tirtham? Why is tirtham given in the temples after the arati? It tastes good because it has got pachakalpuram and tulasi and all of that. It tastes very nice. Sometimes we feel like asking again. You go to Narayana temple and all, always remember to quickly take your, upper garment and keep your hand like this, okay? Keep your hand like this. The moment the Vadyar sees that, he will give it 3 times. I learned that trick because the tirtham there is very tasty. So I always go like that and keep a tuni like that and I hold like this and you wait. The first time he puts, you don't take away. You wait like that, he'll put 3 times and then you take it. Because once you've taken the sip, then the Vadyar will not put, because the spoon, your hand is now soiled, right? So you have to hold it there, he'll put it 3 times and then you consume it.
நிறைய பேர் கோவில்ல டம்ளர் எடுத்துன்னு வருவா.
Tumbler எடுத்துன்னு போவாளா?
சின்ன பாட்டில் எடுத்துன்னு வருவா, சின்ன டம்ளர் எடுத்துன்னு வருவா.
Correct. They'll just pour the whole thing like that. So what is the whole idea of that achamanam that happens, achamaniyam that happens there? Is that water that is kept there at the altar of Bhagavan is exposed to all the Vedic chants, exposed to all the mantras. The whole environment is now charged through these vibrations and the water is now vibrating with all that energy. So you take 3 forms of prasada with you. Drishti prasada, you are taking arati and you're seeing the form of Bhagavan. Then you're taking the rasa prasada through water. And then the shrotra prasada through listening to the words and the sounds and the mantras, etc. So these are 3 things that you consume while you're there, which is why it is very important to take that prasadam. That prasadam is important, whatever it is. Of course, tumbler and all of that is one thing, but that is if you're wanting to bring it home for some people, but having it, consuming it there is most important. In that sannidhanam, in that sannidhi, consuming that water is very important. So we consume it there. So this kind of in that environment, what is happening is this consecrated entity that is there, you're consuming it through your sense organs. What do you mean by consuming? You are taking aspects of it, the guna, the gunas of it, the kala. You're taking the kalas of it and you're consuming it, so that it can then work through you, in you, even when you are not conscious of it. Now, here Adi Shankara is giving a method of visualizing this whole thing. You are not able to go to, suppose there are times we are, and as we age also, there are times when we are not able to go to temples and not able to go to places. We can do this. I would say even women who are during their cycles, they are not able to go to temples or some places. They can do some chants like this. Visualizing, see, doing worship, ritual, tantric worship, and doing different kinds of rituals wouldn't be allowed because of obvious reasons. You don't want energies to rise in your body because your body is cleansing. But you can always go into the bhava of this karunya bhava, this emotion of love and devotion and surrender. Right? A lot of times people misunderstand that if they are during the cycles, that they should not even do any chant. They shouldn't do ugram chant. They shouldn't do, like, you shouldn't sit and say Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya. You shouldn't start like that. That you shouldn't do. You shouldn't do Vedic chants. You shouldn't do suddenly take up. I take a complex mantra and I'm going to chant the mantra 1,000 times a day. No, those things you don't do. Things that is going to heat up your body. But anything Saumya, you can always keep your mind reading Bhagavatam. What is wrong? It is all Bhagavat Leela, right? Joyful Leela of Bhagavan, different stories. You can read. I don't understand. I mean, those years I've seen women will be given Kunkumam, Ananda Vigadan, and all that. They will say that you have to read this. Women during cycles, they'll be given all these magazines to read. Teet. So, Teet means you should not read any Perumal Pustakam or any Anmigam Pustakam, you should not read. It's all very, it comes out of lack of understanding, right? Teet doesn't mean that you've suddenly become, you can't think about God. You can do all those processes that keep you in a very tender state within you, in a state of devotion, in a state of surrender, in a state of love, in a state of compassion. All of these are beautiful emotions and beautiful exchanges that we can have with Bhagavan. We shouldn't oscillate between a lot of emotional, we shouldn't suddenly listen to a lot of Gita Govinda and start crying. We shouldn't jump between a lot of emotions, right? Already there's a turmoil that's going in the body. Important thing to note is there is no time that you cannot think about Bhagavan. That is important to note. Doesn't matter what anybody says, right? Who's to come and tell you what you need to do? When your heart is full of love for the Lord, how can come some social norms stop you from thinking about Him? Listening to His words, listening to His stories, listening to Upanyasam. Nothing, right? In fact, it's the best time, I would say, when women don't have other duties to attend to during this time. If you are in such situations, use this time off for sadhana, for this kind of sadhana, right? You don't have to really put a lot of ritual and those kind of things. Those you shouldn't do. But inner sadhana, inner processing, all of this can be done. Then you do mantra Matruka Pushpamala Stavam. Read this and visualize Mother. You see her in the Manidvipa, and then you bring her into the Then there you go in the Manidvipa, you go to her Sabha. Then you seat her in the Sri Chakra Madhyasthitam. And there you do your Padyam, Arghyam and all that. And then you take that water, then you have Prokshanam on you, and you purify yourself. Right?
Even Sudarshan, இந்த
Hmm.
சப்போஸிங் நம்ம ஆத்துல இதெல்லாம் பண்றோமோனோ, எங்க அம்மா சொல்லியிருக்காங்க அதெல்லாம். சப்போஸிங் ஆத்துல இருக்கிற நம்ம பிம்பங்கள், நம்ம போட்டோக்கள், நம்ம இதெல்லாம் திருப்தியா போறன்னு இல்லைன்னு வச்சுக்கோ, யூ டிராவல் பை யுவர் மைண்ட் டு திருப்பதி அண்ட் சோழங்கர், மகமாயி, வாட் எவர் காடஸ் ஆர் காட் யூ ஃபீல் லைக், டிராவல் மனசால பண்ணி அங்க நைவேத்தியம் பண்ணிட்டு வா சொல்லுவோம்.
Correct. Correct.
அம்மா சொல்லுவாங்க.
That's right. So you do it mentally. You are not. The thing is, these days, if you look at it, women when their cycles, they go to work, and there is so much of tension and pressure at work. I would say, considering that, these are beautiful things to do. Right? The problem is, we will say, "Ayo, I am in my cycles, so I will not chant. I will not do this, but I will go to work. I'll sit there and sit from, I'll sit there 12 hours and slog and work. I'll put my body through turmoil, but this I will not do because, it has been told that for, uh, in cycles I shouldn't do theater." These things we should change. We should understand that what is it that we are trying to do through these things. It's not, we should understand that we are not abacharam, Perumal Kannakut, all of these things, you have to come out of these things. There is no Perumal sitting there and you are defiling the Lord. There's nothing of that. It's all absolute misunderstanding. At the end of the day, it is for yourself. Whatever you're doing, santushtaye kalpatam. That santushtaye kalpatam, I am visualizing, Mother, you are happy means what? I am happy. I'm making you happy. I am happy. Right? So we will just chant this once. Ishana adipadam shivaika phalakam ratnasanam te shubham padyam kunkuma chandanadi bharitaihi arghyam saratnakshataihi शुद्धैराचमनीयकं तव जलैर्भक्त्या मया कल्पितं कारुण्यामृतवारिधे तदखिलं सन्तुष्टये कल्पताम्. ॐ कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. सदाशिवायेति समर्पयामि. जगदम्बिकेति समर्पयामि. सद्गुरुनाथायेति समर्पयामि. हरि ओम तत्सद्गुरुभ्यो नमः. हरि ओम गुरुदेवा हरि ओम.
हरि ओम.